Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time to join us. My name is Kristen Bronner, and I'm the Executive Director at the National Issues Forums Institute, and I'm very thrilled and excited to spend the afternoon with you. We're so happy that you've joined us for the announcement of our What's Next America Community Grant Fund. During today's webinar, we'll provide a very brief introduction to the National Issues Forums Institute for those who might be new, as well as a quick overview of What's Next America. Then we'll share about the Community Grant Fund and we'll walk through each aspect of the application. We'll also leave plenty of time to answer any questions you may have. This session is being recorded and will be shared at the end of the week. This group will also be the first to receive the link to apply for the Community Grant Fund. So congratulations. Thank you for making time to join us. And we want to make sure you get the link first. We welcome questions and comments in the chat throughout the next hour, and we will be providing dedicated Q&A session during the second half of this info session. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Okay. For anyone not yet familiar with the National Issues Forums Institute, known for short as NIFI or NIF, we're a nonpartisan nonprofit organization that has been around for over 44 years. In fact, we just celebrated our 44th birthday. NIFI believes that solving public problems requires public participation. And to that end, our mission is to equip, empower, and mobilize people to use deliberation to take action for the public good. For those who might be new to deliberation, it is a form of civil discourse that helps people examine multiple approaches and possible solutions, weigh choices and trade-offs and competing values. Sorry about that, y'all. I don't know what happened to my microphone. And identify common ground for taking action. We encourage you to visit our website to learn more. So let's talk a little bit about What's Next America. It's an initiative of the National Issues Forums Institute to help Americans come together in their communities, as well as in K-12 schools and on college campuses, to talk, decide, and act better together on the issues that matter most to them. It's an opportunity for folks to come together and build on an opportunity, taking a really asset-based approach, or address a challenge in their community, on their campus, or in their school. Why do we feel that this is important today and the right moment to launch this initiative? Recent research from More in Common has demonstrated that Americans are interested in working alongside people who are different from them when the goal is solving problems facing their communities. And that when people come together to do something together, they actually bridge divides. This is the kind of work that What's Next America is designed to support. What's Next provides a set of practices that help people talk together, identify ways to improve their communities, and then take actions to do just that. It's designed to connect people who are already working to develop strong communities while bringing new people and new ideas into the mix. NIFI sees this initiative as a way to mark the nation's 250th birthday that was celebrated earlier this month by not only looking back, but also asking what kind of communities and country we want to help build for the next 250 years. So we'll drop a link to the What's Next website in the chat. What's Next America was built on a foundation of deliberative talk to action work happening in communities, schools, and campuses across the country over the past several years. It's directly modeled after work done starting over a decade ago in communities across West Virginia and Alabama through two initiatives, the What's Next West Virginia and What's Next Alabama initiatives. And in just a minute, you're going to hear from Betty Knighton, who created the model with What's Next West Virginia. The What's Next approach begins with assembling a planning team that helps conduct outreach to a wide range of participants. You'll see this on the image on the screen. The goal is to invite people from all walks of life and to keep asking who's missing in this conversation and invite them in. We have tips and strategies for doing just that. Then hosting a series of generally 3 conversations during which communities walk through 3 overarching deliberative question areas. Where are we now? Where do we want to go? And how do we get there? These discussions often lead to a wide range of actions that community members may choose to take, beginning with what's often called an action summit. And I failed at the beginning to introduce the rest of our team that's on the call. And so I'll turn it to our wonderful program manager, Dawn Harfman, in just a second to introduce herself. And then later in the program, you'll hear from Betty Knighton, who's a longtime associate with National Issues Forums Institute and former president of the organization, and serves as a senior associate and advisor right now for National Issues Forums. And then Christine Fernando, who's our communications and creative manager. So Dawn, I'll hand it to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, we're really excited to be talking with you all today about this this program. So to support and connect the work that this program is about, NIFI provides free resources, including participant guides, And we have three versions, one for communities, one for K-12, and one for higher education. Um, and we have a planning guide for organizers, communications toolkits, and other resources, and some that we'll also be adding over time. We also provide free workshops and trainings and opportunities to connect with others doing similar work, including a monthly community roundtable and other collaborative learning opportunities. More information about all of these resources and links to register for upcoming workshops and the community roundtable can be found at whatsnextamerica.com, or you can also scan the QR code there on the slide. And we wanted to talk about a few of these today, just in a little bit more detail. One, if we go to the next slide, is the participant guide. And so that's sort of the cornerstone of the deliberative discussions themselves that are part of the What's Next initiatives. The participant guide uses those three series of deliberative questions that Kristen mentioned to help communities sort of walk through those different questions and identify a challenge, opportunity, and then decide on actions they want to take and then map out how to actually make that happen. So the participant guide is also available on the website. And then if we go to the next slide, the other resources that we wanted to mention today are the ones that are probably most relevant to people on the call right now, which would be for organizing the What's Next initiatives, as that's the first step, right? So for that, the planning guide has a lot of different resources, guidance, and tips for all of the various aspects for organizing a What's Next initiative. We have planning sheets that sort of accompany the planning guide and can help you or your fellow planning team members or others who you're trying to work with to keep track of who's doing what's been done. And then we also have a workshop that we offer specifically on organizing What's Next initiatives. The next one is going to be offered on August 10th, and the recording of a previous one is available on the workshops page of the What's Next America website. All right, next slide, please. And it back to Kristen to talk about the mini grants.
Yeah, so now let's talk about the funding. The Community Grant Fund will provide $250,000 in support to help communities, campuses, and K-12 classrooms organize local discussions, identify shared priorities, and move ideas into nonpartisan civic action. So we'll drop a link to the mini grant fund announcement. We'll be offering Spark grants of up to $1,000 to help communities get ready for a What's Next discussion series. Those applications open on August 2nd. The team loves to laugh because I like to choose historic dates. So we officially launched What's Next America on July 8th, which was the day 250 years to the day the Declaration was first read aloud to the public, which seemed like a symbolic moment to also ask about the future of our country and our democracy. And then August 2nd is the day, even though it's a Sunday, we're going to officially launch this Sunday because it's the day the Declaration was engrossed or signed. So that's the day that John Hancock and others wrote their signatures and officially signed the Declaration. So it seemed like a good opportunity for us to open those applications. And then we will open up Civic Action Grants for up to $5,000 to help communities get to work. And applications for those will open on Constitution Day, which is September 17th. Just a little bit. And so the Spark grants will help communities organize, prepare, and begin hosting What's Next America discussions and conversations. And then the Civic Action Grants will help folks actually move towards action and fund some of the ideas that emerge from the community discussions. So what can you use a Spark grant for? It can be used for broad outreach and communications in your community or on your campus or with a K-12 school, refreshments for meetings. A lot of grants don't allow you to purchase food. This one highly encourages food for meetings and community-based discussions. Anything to help with accessibility. So childcare or transportation, interpretation and translation, things that might help more community members and more folks actually participate in the discussions. Funding to help with facilitator preparation and training facilitators or compensating facilitators for their time, as well as funding to make sure that the meeting space can be covered. Yeah. And then if there are other ideas that you have for what would be helpful as you plan What's Next America discussion series in your community, please let us know. The Spark grants will be the application process will be super open, and very, very short application form. And we encourage questions, and conversation with our team as you think through what you might want to propose. So now I'll hand it over to Dawn to help walk us through the different components of the Spark grant application.
All right. Yeah, so the application, which again will be released on Sunday, you'll see it's broken into segments, and they're very, again, the gist of this is that we're not looking for this to be an onerous process. So that's all going to be like short answers, a matter of 3 to 5 sentences at the most. If you want to put more, that's fine, but you don't need to at all. Or even just bullet points. And so the application will sort of for each question, guide you with what specifically we're looking for. But the first part of the application will just be to tell us about your community and your idea. And so with community, we just wanted to, it says this in the application too, but we wanted to just upfront talk about, community is any sort of group of people that you're trying to work with and bring together, again, sort of bringing diverse groups of people into conversation and with diverse perspectives, diverse life experiences. We talk about diverse walks of life. And so that's a community. It can be a K-12 school or classroom, just as well as a higher ed space, a campus, or even, these can be hosted by libraries, or actually like just a group in a community, of interested, concerned citizens in a community that are bringing people together. So, talking about your community and your idea, you do not have to have everything figured out yet. So we italicize that. Okay, this is it's early in the process, and we definitely want to be able to support people who are at different phases of the process, and also be able to support anyone in actually helping to identify what phase in the process they're in, or just be able to provide support as we go through. So please be in touch with us if you have any questions throughout the application process, or actually doing this work. So I think we can go to the next slide now. All right. So yeah, and for this piece, the second part is, okay, who are you working with? Who are you already connected with, or who do you hope to be connected with? So the key piece here is that partnerships in these initiatives can take many forms. And so I wanted to actually hand it over to Betty Knighton, to share with us about some examples of the different types of forms that these partnerships can take.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm very glad to be here with you today. And it's almost mind-boggling to think of the potential for this kind of work that is represented by the many very talented people that are on this call today. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from you later in the conversation. If you go forward with a What's Next initiative, there will be so many opportunities for people to interact. That's what it's about. It's about public interaction, about issues that affect people's lives and things that they can work on together with each other to make lives better. In that course of interactions, you'll bring people together to talk through issues, to identify what they care about, to consider different perspectives, to set directions for actions. So there's lots of times that you'll be bringing people together. I would venture to say that the most pivotal of those times is the beginning, when you're putting together a planning team of people that will help guide this initiative, open-armed and welcoming to people throughout your community as part of what they see as their mission and their role in this work. So when you think about pulling together a planning team, obviously you want to think about people who represent different segments of the community, people who have different audiences that they can reach. But even above and beyond that, you're looking for people who really believe that people in a community have a right to be able to talk with others about what impacts their own lives and to set directions for working together on them. That's the basic core idea. And people from all different kinds of organizations and walks of life have that belief. I was noticing as I was watching you all identify yourselves as you signed in, I can see that several people on the call actually are with an organization or a part of an organization that's about civic engagement, community engagement. But I would say that in the life of a community, those organizations are in the minority. We don't all have 20 30, 40 organizations in our community that are about civic engagement, but there are tons of organizations and partnerships and coalitions that believe in civic engagement. So that's what you're really looking for. To give you some examples of the people that I think have been the most pivotal here in West Virginia with our work, have to do with people who believe that their role is to serve the people of the community. So we work very, very closely with public broadcasting. And I think a lot of you have public radio or public television in your area. They did it because they said, our mission is to tell West Virginia's story. And how can we do that better than to hear it from the people who live in the state and are part of what the story happens to be? We also worked a lot with philanthropists, grant-making organizations, community foundations, because they want their funding and their directions to go to meet the needs that people have identified as the most important. So it's a way for them to hear from and to collaborate with the general public. Community development organizations are absolutely incredible in part of this because they believe that communities thrive when community members set directions for what they want. Nonprofits, colleges and universities, and schools in general are incredible partners, partly because they believe that it's important for them to be a part of the community in which they're based, but also it's part of the civic education of their students. Business associations, you probably have already thought of many different kinds of organizations that might be a part of this. And sometimes these organizations might be considered part of the choir, organizations that are typically involved in this work. So I think start, first of all, with those organizations and those partners that you already have or you already know to believe in this kind of work going forward.
Thanks so much, Betty. All right. Yeah, so we wanted to, the next question on the application is going to be this, how will you bring new people and new ideas into the mix? Definitely a, you know, critical piece of kind of what we're looking to support. And so, that's things like reaching beyond the people. Betty talked about this a little bit, beyond the people and organizations already most involved, like the sort of the choir, which is important, but you want to reach beyond that too. And then involving people from different walks of life, different perspectives. Yeah, Betty, I just wanted to ask if you had anything else you wanted to add about sort of, why that's important or any particular, anything in it, other examples of how that might look.
Yeah, no matter how active the organizations are that we mentioned earlier as people that are typically involved in things, there are many people in every community that aren't directly connected to any organized work. There are people that might be volunteers, there are people who might attend faith groups, but they aren't necessarily going to be reached just through direct relationships with specific organizations. But as there are other organizations in our communities that have a fantastic track record. In West Virginia, I always have such a great respect for the work of United Ways. United Ways work with people often who are struggling, people who are probably most affected by the problems and the needs and the issues that are in their community that the community might want to work on. So even though the United Way isn't directly involved in all of that work, they often have audiences of people who are, people in faith groups who may be very active in their church, but not necessarily in other organizations or whatever their congregational attachment might be. So what you're really trying to acknowledge is that many of the people who have the most wisdom to share about what would make their community a better place to live, a better place to thrive, are the people who are sometimes the least involved in the discussions about those issues. So what you're really trying to do is to find people who can connect to those people. And that's a really important part of those people that are on the planning team. The people on the planning team don't have to hold every different point of view that there is in the community, but they have to be able to reach people who have those different life experiences and those different points of view. And that's where we're talking about, yes, respect the choir, but reach beyond it when you are trying to involve the community as a whole in this kind of work.
Thank you very much. All right, so the next question in the application is this, it'll say, what will you do? And so what we mean by that, and we have some explanation in the application as well, but really sort of what are your plans for organizing the What's Next initiative? What sort of steps are you going to take? And so so that's sort of the next question there. We can actually move to the next slide. And then it's going to ask, okay, how will you use the Spark Grant funds? Now for this, we are not looking for like any sort of detailed like budget. We don't need exact numbers. It's not like that. We're looking for a brief description of sort of what you're planning to do, bullet point list of sort of anticipated expenses. Again, don't need exact numbers there. So keeping it simple. Um, and then, yeah, so fiscal sponsor, just kind of touching on that a little bit. So Spark grants and the Civic Action Grants are going to need to be either going to 501c3 nonprofit organizations or to groups of individuals. Very much encouraged to apply, but you just need a 501c3 partner organization to serve as a fiscal sponsor. I wanted to mention that now, and there's a little bit more information in the application about that. But we also wanted to encourage folks to actually connect with us, reach out to us if you are in need of support on identifying a fiscal sponsor, or like aren't maybe really sure what that means or anything like that. So we can definitely provide support on that. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so we are let's see. We're asking recipients of Spark grants to support learning and evaluation through different activities, and it's going to depend on sort of your project, your initiative that you're working on. So we'll kind of work with you on what makes the most sense. But overall, we're looking to have we're creating brief pre and post surveys, and we'd like to ask you to share those with participants and to share the results with us, and we'll sort of have a process to do that for you, and then also collect basic participant information. And be able to share that with us as well. And then some form of, we want to learn kind of alongside you about what's helpful about this process. How can we improve this process? And so we are going to ask folks to either participate in maybe interviews or focus groups with the team, or potentially share brief written reflections or stories, kind of updates about how your initiative is going. And so I wanted to introduce Christine Fernando, our communications and creative manager, who's going to be leading that effort and connecting with you. So just wanted to give her a moment to introduce herself and talk a little bit about that.
Hello, everyone. It's so great to see so many folks coming and being interested in our mini grants. Some of the work I'm most excited about is our storytelling effort, and we're collecting interviews, videos, photos, etc., that really capture what this work looks like on the ground. And the aim is to celebrate some of this work and give kudos to the people who are making this happen, but also to help other communities kind of envision what is possible when you're doing this kind of work within communities. So I already have some storytelling going. We spoke to folks in Montevallo who very early got started on some of their conversations, and I can put that link in the chat afterwards so you have an example. But if you want to share anything about anecdotes about how the conversations are going, any interesting snapshots of the work on the ground, or just like what actions are coming through and starting to be organized, I would love to hear from all of you. And I can put my email in there as well so you all know who to reach out to.
Awesome. Thank you, Christine. All right, we can go to the next slide. And yeah, we wanted to kind of wrap up the content part of the session today, so we have plenty of time for questions. So wanted to just a few slides to wrap up here. So please email us if you have any questions. That's my email right there. You can also book an appointment directly. The link for that is on the website, and so you can book an appointment directly on my calendar. The What's Next America website has a great assortment of resources and ways to connect with us as well. Also, please sign up for all of the What's Next America updates. So the QR code for that is at the bottom of the slide. And we can go to the next slide. All right. And we wanted to share a couple upcoming events that are connected with the What's Next process and programs. So one of our companion resources that some of you might have heard about is called Talking About Values with Nuance. This was an exercise developed by Martine Carcassonne at Colorado State University's Center for Public Deliberation in partnership with NFI's What's Next America. And we have a workshop and demonstration forum that's going to be led by Martine coming up tomorrow. So 3 p.m. Eastern, July 29th. And so this is an exercise that he'll be talking about and demonstrating. It encourages participants to engage with the foundational question at the heart of deliberation, no matter the format. What do we do when values are intention? Okay, so this is can be a meaningful standalone exercise, and it can also serve as a really great precursor or lead into a what's next process. So sort of to provide a common language, a baseline to ground a group's conversation and values. And it's also a great tool to turn to in the midst of a what's next process if a facilitator or group identifies a need to pause and sort of focus on, okay, what are the values underlying the differences in opinion here, and how do we move forward? So we wanted to share that. And then next slide, we also wanted to share that on, oops, one moment. Yeah, on Thursday this week, we are going to be having the second meeting of our What's Next Community Roundtable. This is formerly known as our Community of Practice. We had our first meeting of that last month, but we are sort of re-envisioning that to be a community roundtable. And so this every month is a time to connect, to have shared learning and sort of collaborative troubleshooting. Time to do those things. And this month, we also are really fortunate to be able to have Herman Lehman and Shantina Whittle sharing with us about the one of the first What's Next processes that we're aware of that is happening in Montevallo, Alabama. And so we're really lucky to be able to hear from them and share about that. So with that, we wanted to kind of wrap up the slides here and then take time for answering any questions that people might have.
Thank you. Y'all feel free to start adding questions into the chat, or if you'd like to verbally raise your question, feel free to use the raise hand feature on Zoom. We're happy to take those questions. I want to address the wonderful question that Ka raised in the chat of can you apply for both grants? Yes, we do see these as sequential. It's a great idea to apply for the Spark grant to get your discussion started. And then after your discussions start and you're starting to see some of the themes or ideas that are emerging, to go ahead and apply for the Civic Action Grants. You'll just need to know a little bit about what your civic action might be before you apply for the Civic Action Grant. So that's why we see them as sequential. And that also affects the timeline. So the timeline we will award these grants on a rolling basis. So at least once a month, we will review the most recent applications that we have received and award grants every single month, starting in August with the Spark grants and in September with the Civic Action Grants. So if you're feeling a sense of pressure that you have to go ahead and get a civic action project identified in the next 4 or 5 weeks, don't worry, take a deep breath. Those will be given out on a rolling basis over the next 6 to 9 months. So you've got time. The same goes for the Spark grants as well. We're aiming to give out most of those between now and the end of the year, but we will also likely have a few of those going out early next year. And so there is time for you to plan. We want this to be thoughtful and intentional, and for you to have time to reach out to partners and have conversations about what your What's Next initiative might look like, and to plan and prepare accordingly. Okay, Barbara, I saw a hand raised.
Yeah, I think I think you answered I had a question about the timeline. Will you continue to be awarding these grants until the money runs out, or is there like a deadline? But I think you kind of already answered that you're going to roll them out once a month, and then I guess when the money dries up, it's all over.
That's right. Yes, at least for this year's round. And so our hope is to see this 250,000 go out in the 251st year. So between now and next July 4th. So we would really want to be able to have these initiatives happening over the next 11 months. Great question. Thank you. And then I also wanted to make sure and answer one of our frequently asked questions, which is, do I have to call my local initiative What's Next America? You do not have to call it that. In fact, we strongly encourage you to rename for your location. So, for example, the wonderful folks who will be sharing during the community roundtable on Thursday renamed their initiative "What's Next America," and we're working with others who are preparing for state level initiatives. Like our friends at the David Matthews Center for Civic Life in Alabama are planning "What's Next Alabama" to launch this fall, and so we highly encourage renaming to match your community. We also, if you're interested in applying for these and utilizing this process, but you already have an initiative name for some of the local civic work that you're doing, just let us know. We can be flexible, and we're happy to have a conversation about what that might look like. All right, I think we have a couple more questions in the chat, and then Saida, go ahead.
Oh, yes. I just had a question. I also want to thank the NIFI team for this presentation. This is super exciting. I wanted to ask for the Spark grants, let's say you get a Spark grant. Does the conversation involved with the Spark grant, does the Civic Action application have to be coming from that conversation that happened from the first conversation? Or can it also sometimes be like maybe a pre-established area that like a group has already seen needs like some improvement?
That is a wonderful question. So you can use a What's Next initiative. The Spark grants will go for anything that it utilizes that What's Next approach, but it can be around a pre-identified issue or challenge or opportunity. So if you already have a group that's working together on education-related issues, and there's a particularly knotty challenge in education-related issues that you think this would be a great process for, then we highly encourage you, go ahead and focus the conversation, the discussion series around that issue. Yeah, we think that's a great idea. Or maybe there's an opportunity to build upon. Great question. All right, I'll look in the chat now. Okay. So how many Spark?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. How many Spark grants do we anticipate funding? We anticipate giving out 50 of the $1,000 Spark grants, and then $200,000 worth of funding for the Civic Action Grants. So depending on how many applications we get and how many what amounts that folks are applying for, because the range is 2,500 to 5,000. We'll do those until the money goes as well. There is no set deadline for either of those. They're going to be given out on a rolling basis, because we know different communities, campuses, and K-12 schools are on different timelines, and so we want to be respectful of that. So we just encourage you to, once you're ready, apply. I would say for a Spark grant, we're hoping to give most of those out by the end of this year, early next year. So I would say this fall and the end of this summer would be a great time to go ahead and apply for those. We also have a couple of groups who have done pilots of the What's Next initiatives, or are in the pilot process. If you've already begun this process, it's not too late to start a Spark grant. It could go to fund your action conversations or action summit, or to help finish out that discussion series for your community, campus, or school. And then let's see, Beth, your follow-up question, can we resubmit a grant if not funded on the first round? Since we will do these on a rolling basis, any grants not funded one month will automatically be rolled into the next month. And we will do our best, depending on the volume of the grants, we will do our best to reach out individually between our review sessions to maybe answer any questions or gain clarification from folks.
So really quick, right. If I could just clarify that last question. Yeah, that'd be great.
Of course.
So let's say we put in a proposal that is exciting and you like it, but I don't know, we need to include a few more stakeholders or whatever. Would we get that feedback and then have the opportunity to resubmit?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yes.
Great. Thank you.
No, that's a great question. And when we say please reach out to us, we genuinely mean that. Our team is happy to schedule calls with a small team, with an individual who's interested in forming a team but may not know where to start in their community. Part of what we're excited about with What's Next America is being able to provide coaching and connection with others. So through the community roundtables, but also one-on-one conversations with our team, we're more than happy to provide as much assistance as we can.
Great, thank you.
And thank you, Beth. Okay, Barbara. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, another timeline question. I know you're rolling them out every month. So if we submit a grant, would we know by the next month, or what is the turnaround time between grant and award of between grant application and awarding the grant? Do you have that figured out yet?
So I imagine we will have a little bit of tweaking between now and rolling out the first grants, but our hope would be that within a 1 month process, 30 31 days, that we would have that. And I am so sorry,
Okay.
I have toddlers in the background. If anyone heard that, my 2-year-old's also interested in what's next. Beth, or Barbara, does that answer your question?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Just, for planning purposes, for planning a project, it'd be nice to know, like, within a couple of months, we would be able to be funded.
Absolutely. Our goal is to be incredibly responsive and communicative throughout the entire process. All right, Daniel has a question. For groups that are already doing community conversations, what does NIFI most want to see that makes a What's Next project distinct or a good fit? I think what we most want to see is that it genuinely arose from the discussion series or the conversations that people are having, utilizing the What's Next approach. If you're looking at the What's Next discussion materials and that process, and you still have questions about how it fits with what you're already doing, just reach out to us. We're happy to have a follow-up conversation. All right.
Has a question in the chat about deliverables. She says, apart from the evaluation component, which is great, what are the expected deliverables?
Mostly staying in touch with us. So we would love to be able to, if you're comfortable, share photos and learn from what you all are doing. So that would be perhaps a conversation with the team about how the process went, what you learned from it, what you'd like, what we could do differently in supporting folks who are utilizing these resources and initiatives. Like Dawn mentioned, we may ask for the briefest of brief reports, but something that just simply shares like approximately this number of folks, or exactly this number if you kept that good of track. This number of folks participated in the discussion series. This many were engaged in it when we moved into action-oriented conversations. Here are the folks we partnered with, because when you propose your list of who you would like to partner with, we'd love to be able to see who were you able to actually partner with and what worked out as far as partnerships. And so simple reporting around the elements that we request for the application process, or just sitting down and chatting with us about how you work to bring new people and new ideas into the mix. That's a big part of what we're hoping to see with this initiative. Yeah. Dawn, anything to add related to that?
Just that, not anything specific, but just that, just to highlight that, the learning and evaluation and all this, these things that, Kristen was just mentioning, we hope that they're helpful, not just for us to learn as NIFI, but right, so that we can also share, what folks throughout the network of people who are doing these initiatives, what you all are learning with each other, with other people who are just starting out. So just wanted to make that point too.
And Lil has a question about the number of grants. We're aiming for 50 of the Spark grants, and 200,000 to go out the door for the Civic Action Grants. The exact number to be determined based on what amount folks are applying for, and those are between 2,500 and 5,000. And to give a little peek behind the curtain, our pitch this fall to funders is help us match this funding so that you see communities doing great work across the country to engage more people in talking, deciding, and acting better together around the issues that they care about, not just that we identify, but the ones that they genuinely care about and want to see improvement on in their communities. Join us in helping to fund this. So it would be our hope that this initial funding is seed funding and truly a spark to get the process started, and then that others join along in adding to and helping to fund additional actions and additional growth of these types of opportunities that you're doing on your campuses, in your communities, and in schools and classrooms. Let's see. What other questions? Dawn, am I missing anything in the chat?
Betty just reposted a question by James. Let's see. Beyond the three overarching questions, are we free to articulate the discussion with those themes based on our community and program delivery areas, or is the expectation to deliver a highly structured conversation conforming to NIFI talking points?
We don't have talking points really. We have a series of very open-ended questions within these discussion guides. And so we would most certainly hope that just like we would love for you to adapt the name for your context in your community, that you also adapt the questions. We've, arrived at these questions after a decade, 12 years or so of work. And so we think they're really strong starting points, but we don't think that they're the end all be all. That discussion guide should be the start of the conversation, and we hope that you all will adapt it to meet your needs. In fact, if you receive a Spark grant to get started and you want to add some of your own branding and information into the discussion guide, we would love to have the conversation with you and could work with Christine to get your logo added, or if you want to change the name for your community to have your community's name put in there. We genuinely want this to be something that is locally owned and that people feel a sense of connection to the initiative. Let's see if I got every. James, please let me know if I did not touch on every area of the question. And then I also wanted to, I don't think I fully answered Daniel's question earlier about the types of initiatives or projects that might emerge from what's next discussions. And so I want to highlight that we do have a frequently asked questions section that specifically defines, excuse me, what counts as civic action. And so I'll just drop that definition into the chat, but it's something people do together to address a shared concern or opportunity in their community. Sorry, y'all, I got a tickle in my throat. And so it gives a couple examples of some of the responses that have emerged from past What's Next initiatives. Dawn, Christine, what other questions am I missing?
I'm looking through right now. Not seeing any others at the moment in the chat.
Some of our frequently asked questions, and I'll share the link to that page, are can a campus or school apply? Yes, schools, colleges, universities, and campus community partnerships are welcome to apply. So we want to make sure that people feel, communities defined loosely for this initiative. And so whatever community makes the most sense for your context. And here's the link for those FAQs. All right, what other questions? Well, I'll turn to the National Issues Forums Institute team and see what questions. Do you all have any questions or final comments you'd like to make or share with the group before we start wrapping up?
I just wanted to say one more thing. Probably this is probably related to Daniel's question in terms of, I think there's probably a lot of things that National Issues Forums Institute would like to see come out of this, but I can tell you what I have seen come out of this that was incredibly uplifting and kind of long term, and that is people developing habits of talking to each other on a regular basis, people seeing that that can make a difference, people seeing that even though they haven't participated in something like that before, that it's possible and they just might want to do it again. So it's really about helping your community develop some capacity. Yes, we really hope that there'll be very productive discussions. We really hope that those will lead to actions that help improve the life of your community. All of that is absolutely a bedrock. But the other part of it is that after that happens, and then what happens next? And so the idea that, to me, I think for a local goal is certainly, as well as one that National Issues Forums has at the national level, is that people develop these habits and that they can have these practices as part of their basic community life going forward.
Thank you, Betty. That was so well said. That's part of why the exact deliverables are not super specific. We want to learn alongside you. Our greatest hope is not that a certain action emerges from these conversations or discussion series, these initiatives, but rather, like Betty said, that people develop that sense of civic efficacy. And this type of work is all about developing informal civic infrastructure for your communities that in many ways can lead to more formal civic infrastructure. I'll never forget the group of middle school students that Mayor Hollycost, who's on the call, Dr. Hollycost is also the NIFI board chair. When she and I met and worked with lots of middle school students in Montevallo, Alabama, over 12 years ago now, and after hosting deliberative conversations that were very similar to the What's Next initiative, the students kept asking what's next and what can we do. They weren't asking what can other people do or how can I tell the adults in the community what they should do. They really wanted a role and wanted to see themselves as part of the solution. And so we hope that through What's Next America, that it plays a small role on top of the wonderful, incredible civic work that you're already doing, that more Americans come to see themselves as not only that their voice matters, but they can do something about the issues that they care about, that they can do something to improve their communities, and that they can do something to make the place that they call home the place that they would want to call home for the rest of their lives. And that was the big thing with the students. What would it take to make this the place you want to live or come back to for the rest of your lives? So I always think about those students when we do this type of work. It's about building that sense of possibility and capability among people who participate. It's a great question, Ashley. So Ashley's questions are there any explicit criteria by which you plan to evaluate the applications, assuming the pool is greater than 50 applicants and you may need to make difficult decisions? Yes. So the thoroughness in answering the questions, particularly, are you partnering with folks, or is this is not something you do alone? And so, is there a partner or two, a range of partners identified? And then we really want to see new people and new ideas come into the mix. And so the effectiveness or the planning for how to bring new people and ideas into the mix is really important to us for sure. But once it's finalized, we will release the rubric for evaluating the applications. That's a great question. Thank you.
One other probably point that is just that, of course, all of the actions are going to need to be nonpartisan that we can fund, right? So just I think we already mentioned that, but that's just another criteria for sure.
And on the community grants page, there's a detailed explanation of what we mean by nonpartisan and the unallowed activities for the Civic Action Grants. This is a nuts and bolts question nobody asked, but I'll answer this anyway. The application form will be a very simple Google form. As Dawn mentioned earlier, very brief responses. We're thinking 3 to 5 sentences, at most a fuller paragraph. You're welcome to include more and be as loquacious as you would like to, but you're also not required to that. Simple bullet points are also appropriate. Dawn, anything else to add before? And then Saida, I'll get your question.
Yeah, Saida can go first. That's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Forgive me if this was stated, but is there like a time frame where when we get the award, when we should be implementing that like actual initiative or that programming?
That's a great point. Within like 6 months, yeah, I think we're less likely to look favorably on a proposal that is, submitted in the fall of 26 for work in the fall of 27. So something that's a little bit closer. So that might be something that would kind of be a mark against. Yeah, it's a great question.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I would just say how much I appreciate that timeline that Kristen just described, because it's going to take some time to get this up and running. It's not like you have a planning team meeting one day and then you have people come together at the school cafeteria in 2 weeks and then they choose it. I mean, there's a real like rhythm to it in terms of the outreach, and that outreach takes time. And all of you have done community-based work. You know how hard it is to get the word out, and to not only get the word out, but get the word out in a really broad way so that people can feel welcomed. And sometimes people have to hear from somebody they already know and respect, and it might take a few times to try to get that into people who are in that category. So give yourself some time in this planning process. So I hope the Spark Grant will help you to be able to focus on the work and not so much on whether or not you have to pay a fee for a room or for the pizzas or whatever. We're hoping to help out in that way so that you can focus and concentrate on building those relationships. Especially, I know you already have relationships, but to increasing those so that your breadth is even wider than it was before.
Mm-hmm. Great, Betty. This question has also not been asked, but if folks are working at a state or regional level and are interested in working with multiple different communities and partnering with multiple different entities to host these discussion series, these initiatives, please reach out to us. Like we're happy to, we don't want to slight a community just because they're working in a broader geographic range. And so reach out to us. We'll have a conversation about what it looks like to potentially, maybe you're working with 5 communities in a 5-county region or something like that. Then reach out to us about how we can tailor to assist and work with that region. We certainly wouldn't want to have a neighborhood, they can spread $1,000 a lot further than a 5-county region. And so reach out to us about how to maybe submit multiple grant applications alongside of local partners in that region and what that might look like. All right, last call for questions. The first question on the Spark Grant application will be, did you attend or watch the recording of this webinar? Congratulations, all of you can say that you did that. So give yourselves a round of applause. That's amazing. We're incredibly grateful to each of you for making time to attend, to ask such wonderful questions, to engage with us and each other. And we're here and ready to help. We'll send you an email on Sunday when the application goes live. You'll be the first to get that. We'll start promoting it more broadly on Monday. And we can't wait to work with you all. If you, after this webinar, you still have questions or want to work through and troubleshoot some things together with the NIFI team, please reach out to us. We would be more than happy to have a side conversation with you about what this could look like in your community or on your campus or with the K-12 school that you're working with. And I also left off a team member when I was listing team members earlier because I couldn't see everyone on the Zoom room. And so want to highlight that NIFI's amazing Chief Administrative Officer, Patty Deneen, is here as well. And Patty keeps things running for everyone. And so you all will be, you may not have interacted with her before if you're new to the organization, but she makes sure that everything happens here. And so you'll definitely benefit from her leadership at the organization if you apply for one of these grants. So, all right. Last call for questions. Okay. Well, we'll drop our emails in the chat if you would like to follow up more directly. Otherwise, you'll hear from us on Sunday with a recording, a PDF of the presentation given today, and any resources that were mentioned during the call. And after that, we just can't wait to talk with you and see how you utilize this in your communities, adapt it for your context. And yeah, we look forward to staying in touch. Thank you so much for making time and can't wait to talk to you again soon.